Hello, welcome back to my channel. I have another story for you today. This one was written, like the last one, in a little cafe on North Down Road here in Margate. And interestingly, I had the idea for the story before I thought of 5 random words. But I decided to see what would happen if I incorporated the random concept into a story that I had the basic outline of. And this is what happened. This is story number 156, and it's called Breathe In, Breathe Out. Breathe in, breathe out, 9 seconds. A summer meadow scattered with an impossibility of daisies. Perhaps there were a million of them, optimistic yellow faces fringed in white, upturned to the sun, as the last few molecules of morning dew evaporated. The grass under his bare back and shoulders soft, yet textured enough to remind him that it was there. He lay there with his eyes closed, practicing the deep breathing his new foster father Vincent, Vinny, had taught him. It helped calm him when he got angry. Vinny and Sue had just come back from India. Adam couldn't remember the name of the place. They had been the first adults whose kindness towards him hadn't been institutional. "You're a funny sort, aren't you, Ad?" said Sue briefly, shadowing his body as she passed breezily by. It was not meant unkindly. Breathe in, breathe out. 12 seconds. Being chased, aged around 10, by Mona, the daughter of his adoptive mother, Marie, the harried midwife who sewed beautifully flowery dresses in her evenings and taught piano at the weekend. The thrill of the chase, the irony of secretly wanting to be caught. Being caught would mean a tickle or maybe a kiss. He shouldn't be feeling like this. "We want you to think of Mona as your big sister." It was a reassurance, but perhaps a warning too. Mona was 11 and already developing. She had long reddish hair and milky pale skin. She was almost 6 inches taller than Adam. His infatuation was ridiculous. Adam dodged out of the backyard gate and down the lane. He wanted to lead her to the canal path with the benches. Some of the boys in his class had told him that the older kids went there to do French kissing, whatever that was. Maybe she would kiss him down there. He could hear her panting behind him, the clatter of her patent leather buckled shoes on the cobbles. Some were behind the wooden fences and brick walls. A skiffle band were practicing. Rock Island Line. It was in the charts. Such weird American music. Nothing like the dancehall jazz that Marie loved. He should slow down, give Mona a chance. "Come on, Ad, no fair!" she called from behind him. Yet somehow he knew that playing hard to get was the way to win this flame-haired angel. Then, the trip. The awful slow-motion sensation of falling forward. The water of the canal closing over him with a greasy, icy slap. Algae and the stink of rot. Mona's laughter from the towpath. Utter humiliation. Even her hand reaching out to pull on his wrist didn't help. Breathe in, breathe out. 15 seconds. The Borstal years, the old cliché. He'd fallen in with the wrong crowd. They'd begun by snatching magazines, top-shelf nudies and Melody Maker. Then Hugh had distracted a shopkeeper by faking a faint, while Adam and Neil had stolen a fistful of pound notes from the till. Adam hadn't known it was happening until Neil hissed, "Just stand there! No, there! So he can't see!" The sound of the till being jemmied open, the clatter as it fell to the ground. Neil had caught his sleeve as the drawer slammed shut. They'd sprinted around the corner and straight into the suspicious glance of a police officer. The days when they still walked the beat. His first serious felony, and he just stood stock still, wide-eyed, while Neil robbed the Pakistani grocer. But the magistrates had decided to make an example of them, 14 years old and sentenced to 2 years in Feltham Young Offenders. Marie wept in the dock, pleading for leniency. Mona looked like she'd been slapped, her freckled face blushing as if she were the one on trial. They'd never slept together, although they had got close on a couple of occasions. Marie and Mona's newly rediscovered Catholicism had thwarted his teenage lust. "You're my brother in the eyes of God. It's a mortal sin." But where was God when 3 of the older boys had taken turns to pee into the same toilet bowl, push Adam's face into the warm frothy liquid, and then pull the flush? No, this was not the time for those memories. Fast forward. Spring of 1968, London was a patchouli-scented, tie-dyed explosion of loud music and scandalous miniskirts, or so the television suggested. Top of the pops, the old grey whistle test. Most of it failed to reach Stepney Green. The boys had pin-ups of Bridget Bardot and Raquel Welch under their mattresses. Pornographic magazines with centre spreads so lascivious they looked like exotic landscapes. Adam had a letter from Mona. Ad, you won't believe it. Your uncle lawyer got in touch. He left you some money in his will. We haven't opened the letter. We'll see you soon. Love, Mona. One kiss. Inconclusive. The letter within the letter was written on the headed paper of McAndrews, Leavitt and Polwarth solicitors. Adam had done a lot of reading while banged up in Feltham, but much of the legalese baffled him. When you come of age meant his 16th birthday. Annual stipend of £1,000 he'd ringed in red pen. He would be rich, well, for a teenager, in a little over 6 weeks. Breathe in, breathe out, 19 seconds. You can't know what sort of parent you'll be until it happens. That's what Marie had told Mona and Adam when she recovered from the shock of the revelation. Parenthood is as much of an unknown as the afterlife, she continued. She'd given this talk many, many times in her professional life, but probably not with her face turned to the wall. They had committed the ultimate sin, and it had been just as wonderful as Adam had imagined it might. Marie blamed the courts for taking him out of the family home for 2 years, providing time and space for unnatural lusts to flourish, and now they had a baby. Mona was 18 and at secretarial college at nights, while Adam stayed home and looked after little Emma. Emma screamed in his arms as soon as separated from his mother. Adam had taken a job in furniture removals. He planned to open his own architectural reclamation firm, since he had found himself developing an eye for valuable antiques. Typical Borstal boy, his boss had quipped, always with an eye for the nickable. Adam didn't mind. That was the kind of banter they shared, Mr. Fletcher, Lionel, and Mickey One Eye. He'd lost the other in a motorbike accident, yet still rode his Triumph. Lionel was the first black person he'd ever spoken to, and he'd introduced Adam to the world of soul music. Al Green, Solomon Burke, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye. Hard lives crystallised into heavenly music. Even Marie was coming round when Adam visited with his new records and Emma in the stroller. Emma purred like a kitten when Al Green sang Let's Get Married. And they did. The stipend kept coming, allowing them to place a down payment on a home before Adam hit the quarter century. Marie now worked 2 days a week as a typist. Adam's business boomed. Victorian radiators and grates, grandfather clocks, even old sea chests. They moved to Finchley and became upwardly mobile. Another child arrived, this time a son, with flame red hair like his mother. Sadly, William's hair was the only thing about him that exuded health. He'd caught every childhood disease, even a bout of polio that left him with a permanent limp. The boys at school called him Willie Wayne. Emma excelled at school in a way her parents found almost perplexing. She simply loved to learn. Quadratic equations, violin, Latin even. Emma took her grandmother to Latin Mass at Westminster Cathedral for her 70th birthday, whispering a translation in Marie's ear while the priest intoned. Then, no, not this memory, why now? It was a straightforward decision. I'll take the car, it finishes so late. Look, I passed 6 weeks ago, Dad, it'll be fine. The road was wet. The other car was speeding and jumped the lights, or so the police had told them. It hadn't been Emma's fault. She took to the wheelchair with remarkable ease, stoic, refusing to complain, hiding what Adam was certain was an unshakable but entirely undeserved guilt. Dad, don't help me, I can do it myself, Emma insisted as she wheeled herself to the crematorium entrance, the wreath with Marie's name in white roses in her lap. William with his cowboy lope, everybody damaged. Why this? Why these memories? Why now? Breathe in. Breathe out. 30 seconds. William's band, the Unforsaken, at the Roundhouse, supporting the Stone Roses. Now that was a highlight. His son had just turned 20. The Fender Strat had been a good investment. Emma moved her wheels diagonally, an awkward shimmy, while her parents sang along with the lyrics and downed their pints. They were young parents, and their wayward son was a rock star. Who could blame them? Emma's boyfriend Rajesh was at the bar, buying a round of sambucas. Mona leaned down to her diminutive daughter's ear, pulling back the red hair, leaning on the chair's armrest. The guy next to us just asked if we're sisters. Emma rolled her eyes. They always say that, Mum. Adam didn't mind. He loved it when other men looked hungrily at his wife. Mona was becoming more beautiful with every hard-earned line. He put his arm around her waist, whispering, You make me happy. Very, very happy. He then had to shout it over William's guitar drone. William and his husband Carl didn't manage to adopt a child until 2014. They'd been trying for years. It moved Adam when Carl confided, "He doesn't want any child to have the lonely childhood that you had." Moved him, but also irked him a little. Until the foster homes, Adam had never been alone. Sure, he'd been introverted, frequently bullied, often scared, but he'd had his imaginary friends and his scribbled stories for comfort. The secret, creative self he didn't share until he wrote his small-scale, 3-week bestseller, Breathe In, Breathe Out. William had insisted. "Dad, you're just as creative as me or Emma," his son had opined, showing off his newfound clarity and sobriety. Emma was a violinist with the Royal Philharmonic, astoundingly enough. Adam half suspected she was a diversity hire, but he would never voice such a cynical thought. Emma was perfectly capable of holding her own in an ensemble, even playing the challenging modern works the RPO were essaying this season. "But who would be interested in a life like mine?" Adam had offered weakly. He quietly loved the idea of writing a memoir, particularly since the diagnosis he had not so far shared. It took him almost 2 years to cough it all out onto a page. Breathe in, breathe out. He'd named the book after his foster father's yoga instructions. Another cynical thought, it had been published because he was a rock star's dad. Perhaps true, although the Amazon reviews, all 1,251 of them, helped to dispel the suspicion that he was a fraud. He didn't want it to become just another coping with cancer book, so he'd left that stuff to the epilogue. Better to write your own epilogue than your own epitaph. So here he was, 73 years old, using his breathing practice one last time to quell the pain and to silence the endless rush of memories. Mona asleep in the chair by his bedside, within touching distance, snoring gently under a blanket, her hair now a dramatic clash of grey and red. Emma had visited for almost 2 hours in the afternoon. Rajesh couldn't make it, but would be here tomorrow. William had cut his tour short and was driving down from Birmingham tomorrow with mischievous daughter Billy, but Adam couldn't wait. If he pressed a button, a night nurse would rush in to augment his dose, but the more pain relief Adam took, the more memories would percolate and sleep would elude him. On the other hand, the pain was excruciating, and no amount of breathing could provide the release he needed. Pancreatic cancer was a bitch. It was time. His family would forgive him if he slipped quietly away, as he had often done from parties, from wakes, from social gatherings of all sorts. They call it an Irish goodbye. Adam closed his eyes in the warm hospice room, lit only by the ambient glow of the machines that sustained him. Only the pipes expanding and Mona's snores accompanied his breath as he focused in upon the last thing he had any control over. Breathe in, breathe out. And there you go. I hope you liked that one. It's rather slightly melancholy, but you know, he had a good life. Yeah, that's sort of, I wrote that after a yoga class, and I was in the class thinking about the breathing thing and how when you breathe out, you can actually wait quite a long time before you then need to breathe in again. You tend to breathe in and out quite quickly, but actually if you're lying down and you're relaxed, you can breathe out and just hold 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, a long, long time before you need to take another breath in. So that's where the idea came from. Anyway, hopefully I'll do something a bit cheerier next time. Just to remind you, because I never get around to doing my own PR, this is my latest book. This is a novel, a crime novel called Elena in Exile, on Amazon now. And this is a collection of short stories, rather like the one you just heard. So if you enjoyed this, you could even buy that on Amazon. And possibly in bookshops, because it's on expanded distribution. Anyway, I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.